On behalf of our SIT374 team, I present to you the Sprint 1 presentation for the A to Z Safari app. The project that our team have been assigned to is for an existing iPad application currently already on the App Store to help support and teach young children to learn the English alphabet more efficiently by using letter-to-sound relationships. It is currently already being used in many schools throughout Australia, mostly in Victoria, and has over 9,000 downloads on the App Store. Our objectives set by our client for our squad is to remove all existing bugs, improve current game modes, finish an unpublished game mode, and develop a new mode ready to be published on the App Store. In total, we were given 6 major tasks to complete by the end of the trimester. Our team are to implement a feature that allows the user to change between the different standardized fonts used by each Australian state, as the app currently only uses the Victorian font. We are also to identify and fix any existing bugs and further enhance the Explorer game mode. This mode allows for the printing of QR codes to then be stuck on real-world objects and scanned using the iPad camera to match each given letter. Our team are also assigned to rectify any existing warnings that arise when compiling the current code, as the app was built in a much older and outdated version of Xcode. The gallery view of the game allows the player to select different images and hear the corresponding letter, with an additional story mode which allows the player to hear a short sentence using words of that letter. This mode still has quite a lot of bugs, unappealing animations, and our team have been asked to rectify these. A writing mode which is currently in progress and not yet published also needs to be fully implemented and finalized. And finally, a new game for the app which allows the player to spell words given a set of individual letters referenced by either an image or sound clip associated to that letter. Being a mix of both cloud and online students, our main form of communication and collaboration has all been online, with the use of tools such as Skype, Microsoft Teams, and Trello for task management and allocations. Unfortunately, our team as a whole had very limited knowledge of the programming languages and code management tools that have been required to complete our objectives. Many of us have never used Git in a team environment before, which made things difficult to set up. While some of us had some current iOS experience with Swift and Xcode, most of us had zero knowledge in Objective-C, which the majority of the app has been written in. A lot of time spent upskilling from our team was in order if we were to meet our deliverables for the trimester. By the end of Sprint 1, we were able to mostly complete the multiple font options, get halfway through completion of the Explorer mode, rectify all the existing warnings, identify as many bugs as possible, and break down all the features we were working on as much as possible into smaller subtasks for allocating to our team members. Breaking down these tasks has been a slow process, as coupled with our already limited knowledge of Objective-C, there has been no handover documentation and insufficient commenting of the existing code from the previous development teams. We were each paired up and each group assigned a task to analyze the existing code, identify bugs, and then write our breakdowns on each card. The multiple font feature was mostly completed by the end of the sprint. After exploring the files that would need to be modified and the task broken down and listed in Trello, this was then implemented with the user interface added to the settings window of the app and demonstrated to the client. However, we still need to wait for the bold versions of each font, as only the regular fonts were freely available to complete this task. After thorough testing of the Explorer mode on a physical iPad and an analysis of the code, bugs were identified and further improvements were added to our breakdowns. The user feedback for an incorrectly scanned code was added with the sound effect for that letter. We plan to make further improvements for when an incorrect code is scanned, as well as a few other minor improvements to the user experience. All warnings were successfully removed, which mostly consisted of depreciated methods and value conversion issues related to outdated code. There are originally 62 warnings which were rectified, with a few new ones showing up after applying the code fixes. The client is not happy with the current setup of the Play Story, which opens in a separate view to the gallery mode, and also wishes us to improve on the animations of each individual letter and informed us that this feature it was quite buggy. All issues in the gallery mode feature have now been identified, correct files associated, and task breakdowns completed to begin implementing the required fixes and improvements. The team struggled with the writing game mode, while upon trying to run the mode in our tests, the app would always crash. It did not have its own separate storyboard file like the rest of the app did, and the lack of commenting, it was difficult to trace back the files. It took a lot longer for this feature to be analysed and broken down, and further research into optical character recognition was required. We came up with a few basic concepts for the new game mode and presented these ideas to the client during our meetings. This feature will be more thoroughly planned during Sprint 2 as the other 5 task objectives are of more importance. The overall view on our progress was that we are definitely behind on our objectives for the client. Both our team and the client are in agreement that we would have liked to have been a lot further ahead in the coding of our features. The client originally wanted us to have the new game mode finished by the end of the trimester, however, we most likely won't get this completed. On a positive note, the highlights during the sprint include making good use of Trello for listing our breakdowns, effective group meetings and supervisor meetings with clear agendas, flexibility of our team members and an effort to research areas where we had a lack in knowledge, as well as a constant effort from team members to help each other where people were struggling. As mentioned previously, our limited knowledge of the required programming languages definitely set the team back in meeting our target outcomes for Sprint 1. On top of this, only a few of the team members has access to a physical device for thorough testing. The previous teams working on the app did not provide much commenting at all within the code, making it even more difficult for us to analyze and begin tasks. It was also sometimes difficult to track individual task completion as Trello was not being updated as regularly as we would have hoped. Our plan for Sprint 2 is to finalize and complete all unfinished features from Sprint 1 by the end of week 9, and an estimation for the new feature to be 70% complete by the end of Sprint 2. During the course of working on the new game mode, we plan to undergo thorough testing of all other features and possibly make some minor improvements to the user experience across the app if we get time. From our reflection of the outcome of Sprint 1, along with our feedback, we believe the team can make much better progress during Sprint 2, provided we make some improvements in our organisation, regularly updating Trello, splitting our tasks into individual cards so they can be allocated more accurately. We also need to spend more time on upskilling and plan to provide better documentation as our code progresses. This is both for our own benefit as well as future teams working on the app. This project has definitely been a great learning experience and effectively working together as a large team, and we look forward to gaining more progress for the final sprint. Thank you.